There we go. Okay, well, welcome to our Clean Up Your Act live Q&A. Our topic today is Act Premium Cloud. And I'm here with Tony Berastegui, who is president of our company, Egan Consulting. Oh, I've got someone else coming in. Let me go ahead and let him in. And just waiting for him to connect to audio. Welcome, Steve. Feel free to unmute if you would like. Otherwise, I just got started, and I was just saying that we are talking about Act Premium Cloud today because we have a lot of interest in clients wanting to know more about Act Premium Cloud and how is it different from Act Premium, and what's the process maybe of going to the cloud, and really what's the benefit. Oh, there you are, Steve.
Oh, now I've got audio working, I think, right?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, well, I'm going to arrange it so I can take some notes.
Awesome. I'll be showing the video too afterwards. So.
Oh, okay. We'll get more. You say you'll send the video?
I will.
Okay, good. Yeah, I'm having trouble with the new Act version in that I attempt to do a mail merge, and for whatever reason, how do I find the group? Used to be what looked like a magnifying glass or something on the screen, and I could list everybody in the group and then do a mail merge, current lookup, things like that.
So Steve, are you on the locally installed version, or are you already in Act Cloud?
I'm in Act Cloud, I believe. The Calhoun companies had me convert to that for whatever reason. Okay, now I'm having trouble moving just Act. Let's see here. There.
So when you log into Act, you open a browser and you go to my.act.com and then you log in?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, great. Well, we have Nanette on the phone. She is currently using the Act software installed version, and she was wanting to know more about Act Cloud.
Mm-hmm.
So this is kind of good because now we have an Act Cloud user.
Yes.
And the other thing that's interesting is that just yesterday I showed Nanette's team how to do a mail merge in Act Premium. So it's fun that you're talking about doing it in Act Cloud.
Yeah, it'll be good for me to figure that out. And for instance, I sell businesses as a business broker, and I just listed a resort for sale, and I've got probably 700 buyers in the last 20 years that have looked at resorts, and I'd like to send them all a note saying I got this one with 6 cabins and whatever other BS I can include, and get that to the potential buyers. But I'm fumbling through it, and I'm not able to do that. Used to go into groups and then surface the resorts, and then there would be some kind of an icon on there that would list them all, where it says 4 of 8, it would say 1 of 700 or whatever the number is, and then I could somehow mail to all of them.
Okay. So when you did this before, were you using the mail merge template? Do you have a mail merge template already set up?
Yep.
Oh,
When I need to edit templates too, that doesn't seem to be cooperating when I do that. When I try to edit them like I used to, I'd go into write, mail merge, edit template, and it just doesn't work.
Yeah, there's a whole setup process to that. And honestly, that's a bit outside the scope of what we were doing today.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, the good thing is one of the benefits of using Act Premium Cloud is that you have access to a library of videos, and you also have access to tech support who could probably help you with this, because it requires installing something from ACT in order to get that all working. So I believe that they would help you if you gave them a call, and that would be free because it's part of your subscription.
Oh, is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
How do you have a number for them?
I do.
I-
Yeah, it's 1-866
Uh-huh.
873
Uh-huh.
2006.
2006?
Yes.
Okay, that's great. That'll help me out. And I can go into tech support and look at what they have there too, I suppose.
There's a lot of resources too in Act Premium Cloud. When you open it up, go to the right-hand side, top right, where you see your name. Click in there. There's a form you could submit. There's also the welcome page. Also has a lot of how-tos. Your inquiry, Steve, is not unique at all, because people that have been working with Act Desktop for years, it's always been a desktop product. So in the web has got limitations. You're at the mercy of certain things that you can do on your desktop, but you can't do it on the web. So when you're like, I don't see it here, I don't see it, I know exactly what you're dealing with. If you email us, we can send you the actual links of how to do it. Support, as like I said before, on the welcome page in APC, take a look at that. There is a big old icon at the very top that says how to. And believe me, they've written a lot of articles on the mail merge, because quite a few people, you're not the only one, who moved over to APC and said, wait a minute, I just need to send some stuff out. I want someone to buy this home, for
Sure.
example. You want to get it in front of them. That's one thing you can do. Another thing you can also do is, if you ever want us to maybe show you some more, there's built-in Act marketing automation, which will allow you to send stuff in a really fancy way, and then you'll get feedback as to actually who saw it, how many times they opened. Then you can do what's called drip campaigns, where you can send another one as a gentle reminder, hey, this property's still open. You guys, would you like for me to give you some more information about it? So you have multiple options. But if you want to get back to what you were talking about, to the actual mail merge that you're used to doing, yeah, hit that link on the top right, or go to the home page and find that how to. There's they'll lay it out for you.
Okay.
Also in the chat, I just put a link that can take you to an area of the video library that I believe will address your question.
Okay.
And those
And where's
videos are all really short.
in the tech support?
I'm sorry, I put the link in the meeting chat.
You talked about a library of stuff?
Yes, do you see the chat in the Zoom window?
In where? In the screen you're on?
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you hover your mouse to the bottom, you'll see some different options where you can turn your microphone off and stuff like that.
Oh, I see. Yeah. See, I'm
Yeah.
not familiar with this chat. Okay.
Yep, and then you just if you find it, you'll find the chat, and there's a convenient little link there you can bookmark.
Okay.
Yeah, that's to a specific area, but you'll see the whole library is there.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Well, so Nanette, if I could just ask you, I know you and I had a kind of a very high level conversation about Act Premium Cloud the other day.
Mhm.
And I wanted to, I know you said you don't even know what questions to ask.
Right. Right.
So since last week, have you thought of any questions that we could specifically kind of answer to sort of kick off the conversation?
Well, I heard, Tony say that has some limitations. So I'd like to know what those are. With our goals and what we're trying to achieve, which is, the biggest thing is going to be being able to touch the thousands of people that we have in our database, as far as emails go, and also help our people, our employees, be able to have a little more time structure and efficiency in their day, and also be able to track. So right off the top of my head, those are three things that I want to know what the differences would be between what we have now and Act Premium Cloud, and what the pros are and what the cons are. Would help me in those three areas of our company.
Sure. And some of that we talked about, it's going to be addressed by using Act Marketing Automation.
Mm-hmm.
And Steve, I don't know if you're using Act Marketing Automation, but it is a benefit of your Act subscription. So if you aren't using it, it might be interesting, especially because if you're selling vacation homes or properties and you want to add images to the emails that you're sending out, the mail merge process is really not a great way to do that, but Act Marketing Automation excels at that. And like I said, there's a basic version of AMA, we call it AMA for short, that is included with your subscription. It is limited. I mean, you're not going to get all the bells and whistles with the free version, but it does allow you to send, I think 2,500 emails a month. And it's all like super easy, drag and drop, creating templates and that kind of thing. But now, Nanette, for you, some of the things that we've been talking about, you might need a higher level of Act Marketing Automation to make work,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where the automation comes in to make you guys' lives easier, to automatically send out emails, like touch emails, drip marketing, we call it,
Mm-hmm.
where it's sending something to a particular group of contacts. It could be your A list, B list, C list, however you want to do it, and
Mm-hmm.
have it be personalized. So it's coming from the rep that's working with that contact. And it's just, I want to send something out every month just to kind of keep the company in front of the client or prospect. So they don't,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've sent out something. We don't send out a lot of marketing emails, but we do typically do holidays and things like that. And I always get response, even just from that. So, and it's a lot of times it's, oh, I was thinking about you, or, oh, I just had this issue and I was wanting to call you about it. So it's a good practice to keep your name out there and to have it be automated. So, your guys can concentrate on the real money-making activities, but still keep their pipeline flowing.
All right. I will tell you a funny story. Yesterday in our meeting, just to prove your point, excuse me, Kevin was following along with you while you were doing a mail merge. And he chose a group that probably hasn't been communicated with in a long time. We had one of our founders die, and she had, I don't know, maybe 10 contacts under her name. So he chose that group just for, just to play. He wasn't going to send anything. So he chose a random template out of Act and followed you. Yes. Yes. You know what happened. He sent it because he didn't understand that when he clicked whatever it was, okay or finish, that it was sent. So it sent it. And it was hysterical because it had nothing to do with what we do. Absolutely nothing. And so this guy that is a pretty high up in the financial planning world sent an email back and said, "Hey guys, hadn't spoken to you for a while. Have Jim Walter call me. I've been thinking about him and wanting to talk with him." That happened on a spoof.
See that? It was meant to be.
Isn't that hysterical?
Yep. Yep. This goes to show you the power of reaching out.
Yeah.
Well, we're CRM, so it's customer relationships. They don't specify what kind of relationship it is. As long as
That's right.
as long as you're talking to somebody, just that's that's the crutch of what CRM is.
Right. Right.
100%.
Hey, I wanted to bring up something that I'm glad you said, groups. This will tie back to you, Steve, when you said you wanted to reach out to those 700 buyers. Are you using groups? Are you familiar with them? Is that how? Because groups is going to be a big thing when you want to reach out and start touching it, because it segments. It's a really good way to segment your database, and also that goes back to what you're talking about in the net. You know, you want to be able to maximize what's in there. One of the greatest fields I think ACT has, it's called last edited by. You can answer quickly with groups questions like, who in my database have I not touched in the last month? Well, who in my database has history or where there's actually been some kind of activity in there? And that's a great way to start digging into your data. So, Steve, if you have any questions about groups, don't be shy to chime in. And then you're like, what are things that I'm not thinking about that I should be asking? And when I meant limitations, I'm talking about things like in Steve's situation where Desktop Act really talks well with Outlook. So that mail merge kind of kicks in, but if you're on the web, it's a whole different way of doing it. So that's one thing you have to consider. Another thing too, when I say about limitations, a lot of that stuff is under the hood stuff. We're talking about when you really want to go in there and start, we might be doing some other sessions about this, when you really want to go in there and start scrubbing your data. If you have a lot of duplicates, if you need to create companies, if you really want to go in there and kind of clean it up so it's easier for you to work with. Those are some of the things that might be limited in APC, and we might be talking about, why sometimes having a sync option, which ACT did recently with APC, where you're able to actually have your own little desktop version. And the reason we tell people, if you're going to go on APC, at least consider a sync option, which gives you the opportunity of having ACT on your desktop. So you can do some of that under the hood stuff, which is a lot of it relies on, cleaning up your data, removing duplicates. One of our biggest tools is duplicate remover. But that needs to be run on the desktop version. Our biggest customers are other ACT consultants on that product. But that's when it's limitations, you're like, what am I not considering when it comes to desktop? Most of that stuff is under the hood stuff. So I want to throw all that out there. And when you talk about, make sure Steve is. I'm curious if Steve's gotten a chance to jump in. If he's got questions about groups, that's a good one to be considering, especially now when you're trying to reach out and touch your customers.
Well, I've been using groups for a long time. Well, I've been using ACT for about 30 years. And I've been used to be with the laptop version, or your desktop, I should say. You go into groups, and then I've got all the 13,000 contacts in here categorized into what they showed interest in the past. And I could do it. I guess I could do it while we're on the phone or talking about it if you have time for this. But what I would do is click the resort group, and that it shows a bunch of them under ACT, what look like notes, or where you would, but it says activities now. Anyway, how do I create a group I can send to? Is that something we got to start over?
I think Wendy can answer that one, because that ties back into AMA.
What's an
Well,
AMA?
If you ACT marketing automation, but if you're used to sending through Outlook,
Right.
Okay.
so you can do a mail merge with a group. When you do the mail merge process, when you start and you go to write mail merge, there's an option there to choose a group to send it to, or the current contact, or a current lookup. So if the group's already there, then you can just use that.
Oh, I see. Select group name. Group. It says select group or company.
Yeah. So when you hit that drop down, you should be seeing the names of your groups.
It won't open up. I can select group or company. And it says none selected in the little box. And you go to the right to browse, which is not dark. It's grayed out. The thing's not in the mood.
I've used that term before. It's not in the mood.
So it comes up. Okay, so here, if you guys don't mind, I can share my screen just real quick and just look.
It'd be great if I could pick that up off of this.
I'm a big fan of sharing groups, absolutely, of sharing stuff. Here we go.
All right, so you went to write, you went to mail merge.
Okay, I think I've found my error. I did.
You need to choose email here. You can pick a template. I'm just gonna click on something. And then here, selected group or company, and then you have to browse. And groups is the first thing that's selected here. So I could choose
Yeah, I made it to that part. I think I can do that. Oh, yeah, I can. Okay, I think I got this. I better make some notes or it'll vanish. But okay, select template and then select group
mhm.
and then browse to find the group or select content. Okay.
Well, you've got a reason to come back and take a look at the video. We got this recorded for you, so we'll send it to you. So
That'll be helpful. Yeah.
And this is an interesting thing for Nanette since she just recently went through the process in the Windows version. You can see they've made it a one screen thing instead of like 8 steps you have to click next through. So you just got to pick everything here. The only thing, Steve, for you is if you get to one thing I would definitely recommend always is create a group of a couple of test contacts and try your merge with the test contacts first. Yeah, always, especially if you're testing a new template, you know, or this is a new process for you, Steve. So I would definitely recommend you create a test group or just create a lookup of a couple of test contacts and try that. But
send
then
it to us. Put us in your test group. Make sure you put us in your test group. So send us your tests. Tony at Egan Consulting and Wendy at Egan Consulting. That'll be your test group. We don't mind getting your stuff.
Yeah. All right. So I should create a test group.
yes,
Okay.
I'm putting our emails in the our email addresses. I just put them in the chat if you want to. So
That'd be
you
good.
have,
Yeah. Either way, I'm going to get this recorded, you say, so that'll be helpful.
yes,
There you go. Yep.
So then, yeah, you just kind of like go through this, answer all the questions. If you were used to doing it in the Windows version, it's gonna look it's gonna look different, but the information that you have to enter is the same. And
Mhm.
then put a subject and decide your history. If you want to send an attachment, you can do that. And if you then you just hit save. You don't need this printer. You don't need this printer option.
Sure.
The only thing though is if you have not done the part that we were kind of talking about before, just vaguely, the setup of the email integration, then when you hit send, this may not, you may get an error message that you haven't set it up. So there's a setup process to it first.
Okay.
So then that gives you a very, just one example of how things look a little bit different.
Right.
You're in the web version versus the Windows version.
How do I edit a template? I thought it was going to be easy. It used to be I'd open the template, click edit templates, and open it up, and I could type it and change it, and now it won't put up with that. It just I can make some changes.
That's
And,
part of that whole that setup thing.
Okay.
Yeah. And
I'm
it's
going to have to set up email integration. That involves that too.
exactly.
Editing the templates.
Yes, because it's an integration with Word. You're going to use Word to edit the template, and there's a little thing like an applet that needs to be installed, and that's where I was saying the tech support can help you, or I think they may go over it in one of those videos, and we can look at that. Tony or I can look at that afterwards and just see, and then email you and let you know.
It was either desktop because Word and Act were all on the same computer, but now you've got Act up in the cloud somewhere. So somehow we got to get the desktop and the cloud talking to each other. That's what the applet does. So there's a little bit of a setup process involved. It's not as seamless as you were on the desktop. So that's something. It's just one of those things where it's just a little bit of a learning curve, and we can, like Wendy told you, we can talk you through it. So I know,
Yeah,
boy. You've
we're
been using
dealing with
it.
the old dog new trick program.
Yeah, well, when you've been doing it for 30 years, all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute, it was right there. Now it's, but that's, that's what happens when you start dealing with the web, and the web's got its wonderful, there's
Upgrade.
we absolutely love it. We absolutely love it. The mobility of the whole thing. We've got all the reasons why we're happy with Act in the web now. I mean, we're long. Wendy and I are longtime Act desktop users. My background is sales and marketing. I've been on this thing for years, but a lot of things right now are in the cloud, as you know. Act. To be quite honest with you, Act was a little bit late to the game, but now that they're here, it's we're really happy with what it is.
Yeah, we're dealing with the old dog new trick deal.
Yeah. And
I've used that term way too often.
yeah. Well, the good news I feel is that they tried to keep it looking very similar. So people who were used to using the desktop version, at least your navigation bars are in the same place. The layouts look the same. You don't lose any fields or data when you migrate to the cloud. So they're working on that, and they've had to, over the last several versions, make it even more I would say like web friendly. So you'll see and you probably have seen this, that some dialogue boxes and things like that have changed over the past year. Like creating a history or an activity looks a little bit different because they had to optimize it for being in a browser. But that is actually one of the good things of being in the cloud, is that they can fix bugs and they can apply updates and new features, and you never have to install software. It just gets updated for you, and you don't have to worry about ever having like a failure of your system. Or I know with Nanette, they sometimes have power outages that cause problems, but it's in the cloud and it's backed up, and they have redundancy and the SOC security and all that stuff. So they take that off your plate, which is, I think, one of the main benefits of being in the cloud. Other than you can get your data, you can see it anywhere. If you want to get the mobile version on your phone or a tablet, or you're on a cruise and you need to log in and see your Act, create an opportunity. Hopefully you're creating a sales opportunity while you're on a cruise on vacation. But yeah, you don't have to worry about that whole software. I got my computer crashed. I got a new computer. Is it compatible? All that other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
As you work on it, as you work with it as well, keep in mind we are preferred partners. So these rollouts, we actually we ran into a problem with the history reports not running, and we brought it to their attention. On desktop version, we would have had to wait 6 months or something for maybe an update to roll out. That got fixed last week. So the updates always come out. Keep that in mind too, because as preferred partners, if there's something about the software, like I kind of wish it would do this, or I found that, please tell us, because we talk directly to the developers, and we can actually roll these out pretty quick if we come at it with a compelling case. Usually the compelling case is the customer wants that, and that's always a good compelling case.
Yeah, good.
Yep.
Thank God you had the group set up. You have no idea how many times we've had this conversation, and folks like, I never use groups. I'm like, well, before we have any more conversations, let's talk about the groups. And I did want to ask I wanted to ask both Nanette and you and Steve as well. Are you guys, if I say dynamic groups, do you guys know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Good.
Dynamic groups, you said?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
No.
I don't want to I want to give Nanette a chance to throw some stuff in, but look into dynamic groups, because when you create groups, you're just adding names to it. Dynamic groups will put the names in for you automatically based on any criteria you want. You can create a group right now and it says, give me all my buyers who live in Miami. Boom, there's a group of all your Miami buyers. Give me a group of anybody in my database that only buys commercial properties or commercial, or that type of stuff. Boom. Assuming that you have a particular, because it'll dynamically create those groups on any fields that you have. Most common is, I want to see all the people from Florida. I want to see all the people from particular states, and it'll create it for you dynamically. So if that's something new to you, Definitely look into that because it really cuts down on some of the having the manual processes of putting these things together.
Where do you
Mhm.
find it?
Oh, good question. There we go. When you want to bring it up, Wendy?
Oh, sure.
Let's bring it up. We'll show you where it is because I can talk you through it, but trust me, once you see it, because it really is I personally believe it's one of the strongest tools within ACT.
I
And
agree.
the web is just as strong as the desktop. There are no limitations there. So here's your groups. Let's fire up a new one, I guess. You know what, Wendy? Let's go. Let's just do it. Let's show up everybody in. Let's create a group of everybody that's from in our database that lives in Florida or New York.
All right. We can do that.
So she just hit the create new group button, and then
Okay.
you would click the add contact. That's where you start. That's where you would put them in. But here's where you want to draw your eye to. That you probably filled the top part, but you probably didn't fill the bottom part.
Yeah. So then you pick the field that you're wanting to
Oh, I
query.
see.
And these are not only ACT fields, these are custom fields that you may have created yourself. It's all the fields in your contact database.
And then you've got this and or thing you've got to deal with. So you got to change that. And then you can preview and see how many
Just so
contacts.
right off the bat, we can tell that we have 29 of them in our database. Just like that. There they are.
That's that. And then the create lookup. I don't know if that's what you were looking for earlier, but once you're on a group, this is how you create the lookup of the contacts. And they changed that recently because it used to just be a magnifying glass that was kind of like,
Yeah, that's what I remember,
Sure.
a magnifying glass.
yeah,
And it would list all the names.
yep.
And
So,
you pick the first one, mail merge, group, poof, it was gone.
okay. Well, now you know how to do the mail merge. I think all you probably need, if you're not able to just do write edit template and have it actually, when you click open, have it actually what it does, and I can just show you this. It puts it like kind of downloads it, but it downloads it in a weird format. And this strange AMM, this is like ACT mail merge type of a document. And unless you've gone through the setup that we've been alluding to, when you open this, it doesn't look like anything. It looks like a bunch of garbly-gook.
Mm-hmm.
So that's, yeah. Anyway, I wholeheartedly agree with Tony, and I know Nanette does too, because she was, that's one of the first things we worked on with hers. So, Steve, you had said that, I think you said you know who it is, who should be in the group by, like, what they've purchased before or what their interests are from previous. If you have that information in a field and it's not just the fact that they're in the group, then you can use any field, like Tony was saying, to create that. It's basically a query, really, that dynamic group. It's just applying a query to your database to find the people that meet the criteria.
Yeah, I think that's kind of reinventing the wheel for me. If I could just do a mail merge to that group, I could accomplish what I need to.
Sure. Well, I think you'll be able to do that as long as you get the your
Word
get the
integration.
preferences set up. Yeah, get
Yeah.
that little applet downloaded, and you'll be good to go.
Uh-huh.
And there might be other people that are watching this video after we're done here. The final thing I wanted to add about the group thing that we talked about, there is automation involved because once that's been set up, if you were to happen to add a new contact who happened to be from Miami or New York, they're automatically put into that group.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. I group them, I suppose I group them manually into the resort buyers group, for instance, or things like that. Yeah.
Well, you may want to consider that ID status field. There's a very popular ID status field in there. So if you have somebody that you've added to your database as a resort buyer, flag them as and under ID status. Create a field called resort buyer. Check it off. So now you can answer this question: Who in my database is a resort buyer? Well, it's all the people that I put into resort buyer group, or it's all the people that have been flagged as resort buyers and automatically added to that group. So that's some of the ways to streamline the way you use the software.
Yeah,
Okay.
it takes away a step, and also humans are fallible. I have another client who is using groups a lot, and sometimes people forget to add a contact to a group, and if they aren't added, then they're sort of lost in your database, especially when you have thousands of contacts.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, one of the good things about the dynamic groups is that I can also create a lookup of people who don't fall into these different categories based on the checkbox field or the ID status or whatever it is. With adding people manually to a group, you have to like stand on your head to try to figure out who is not in a group. I mean, it's a whole crazy thing.
Mm-hmm.
There's not an easy way to say, like, to query and say, well, which of my contacts is not in any group? And if you're only working in groups, then those people may never get touched again. So I like dynamic groups. I like
Yeah.
anything that saves time.
I have manually entered them in for 30 years, and I don't see that as a problem. I don't want to try to reinvent that. But I mean, you have to. In my line of work, what happens is when the listing expires, for instance, everybody that's shown interest in that listing has to be listed on a protected list, we call it, so that if they buy it within the next 12 months, we still get paid because we introduced them to the business in the first place.
Mm.
If they're not grouped in that resort or whatever group it is, hardware store, whatever, they get overlooked. So I have to do that. I mean, I'm pretty regimented about that. I'm not afraid of that.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Hey,
Cool.
Nanette, how are you segmenting your database? Are you using it seems like you and Wendy have already tackled the groups thing. I love that. Are you using? I didn't ask Wendy this earlier, but are you guys using that ID status field, or how are you
Yes.
segmenting them? Okay, good.
Yes, we use it. I mean, we're very dependent on it because we have the advisors that we work with are financial advisors, and it all has to be grouped with what they're, if we've actually talked to them, if we run illustrations for them, if they've closed business with us. And then we also have, some who don't want to be solicited, but they might be, active advisors. They just don't want to see our emails, so we have to put them in an ID status. So when we send out emails, we can exclude or we know who they are. So it's very important. Our groups are really, really important and our ID status. So that's how I populate the groups too, is with ID status, and also who that contact belongs to in-house. Because, every one of our people, the 3 people that work with the advisors, have their own, set of advisors they work with. So I can do like Taylor's A's or something like that. So his A's, all the contacts with A's, all of them that are B's, C's, put them in a group. Might get different emails than a B group would, because of their relationship, what they have and have not done with the company, or their level of understanding. So it's critical for us to have it.
So the other thing, Nanette, we had talked about was that the Act Connect Link program is currently what we're using to provide you access to the Act marketing automation. And that is something that we want to kind of get away from. Now, moving to the cloud, you don't have to worry about anything like that because it's provided for you. There's a secure connection. The whole reason for the Act Connect link is you need a secure connection for data to transfer from your database to the Act marketing automation. And it's just the contacts, it's a service. It's just like you were using the that vertical marketing service or
Right, vertical response. Yeah.
right, and Constant Contact, MailChimp, all the same kind of thing. Those are they require the contact list, the email addresses, and sometimes the names if you're going to merge that in order to send you the emails for you. So with Act, that connection, it has to be secure, and it automatically sends the contacts to Act Marketing Automation. And that's the whole purpose behind the Act Connect link. And the other option that you have, though, is you can self-host your Act database, which means we set it up so it can be accessed through a web browser, and we can get a secure connection that way. But sometimes that's like a little bit more of a pain than what our clients want to go through. So, and then the other kind of point to make here is if the machine that you're running Act on is due for an upgrade, like if you're thinking about replacing it or something like that, it's a good time to look at maybe moving to the cloud, because that could be an expense that you're saving. Because if all you're using it for, and I think this is not the case in your case, but for anybody else who might be listening in the future, if all you're using that server for is Act, and you can, not have to spend a few $1,000s on a new server or, whatever, then you can move to that cloud, and it's very reasonable. Honestly, they've even lowered the price and made it more reasonable than Act Premium Desktop these days.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I don't know if I understand the part you were talking about with the connect in the emails and mail merge. I know that we're having, one of our issues that we're still having, and I think it's just is there was something with us that we couldn't use. We had to start using the marketing automation because there was something that we couldn't use. Do you remember that? We weren't able to use, I don't know what it was. We can use mail merge, but there was, I think, sending one-off emails was, sorry, my dog just came in here and grabbed something and ran. Anyways.
No, let me help you out. The issue we ran into, and I found a fix for it at this point, is that when I was sending mail merge messages from one of the machines on your network, when I received them and looked at them in Outlook, they looked like they were blank. And they had this winmail.dat attachment.
Mm-hmm.
That problem, and I saw you had done a mail merge today, and I got one of your messages and it was blank. So I know you have it too. The problem has to do with a rich text format setting in Outlook, and I'm able to fix it now, so you don't have to worry about that. We will be able to use mail merge. The limitation I feel on mail merge, though, is if you want to send images, it doesn't, I guess what you would call maybe like embed the image. It is there, but it sends it as an attachment. So that's a reason why you might want to use Act Marketing Automation if you're going to send something with images. It's just,
okay.
Yeah, the images in Act Marketing Automation, they live on the web. And so when someone receives the email, and I'm sure you've seen this in your own, you can choose to either download it'll say images in Outlook. What does it say, Tony? Images are not being shown. Click here to show them, something like that.
Yeah.
It makes you go to the web to look at them.
Right, exactly. So when you say, yes, I want to see them, then they come in immediately, but they're never an attachment.
I got you.
And Steve, just so you know, there was a lot of background noise on your side, so I did mute you, but if you want to join the conversation, feel free to unmute yourself.
In jail.
Yeah, I had some demand here.
So, let's see, Annette, we were talking, if we kind of, we're getting to sort of to the end of the hour that we allotted for this, and I want to be respectful of everyone's time.
Sure.
Now, as far as your questions about Act Premium Cloud, has anything come up for you, or have we not answered? Is there anything we have not addressed that would help?
Well, I wouldn't be able to have a conversation with you right now and tell you what the differences are, other than it looks like there's more benefits than there's no installation of software, not dependent on the server, updates are quick, glitches are fixed quickly, one screen mail merge, and I'm sure there's other I missed. What about security as far as, we have 3 databases under ACT. And if I go to the cloud I'm going to have to be on the cloud with all of them, right? You don't just say, we have the LTF database, we have a donor database, we have a state registration database. So if I go to the cloud, everything's on the cloud. All of them are.
Well,
Because they're under one subscription.
yeah, the only way that I know in your case, I think there's one of those databases that you're the only one that accesses it. Is that true?
The state one, I'm the only one who accesses it, but the donor one, Kim and I work in that one every day.
So I would say that all your shared, any databases you share definitely would be in the cloud. If you had a database that you were the only one to access it, and you added the desktop sync to your license, to your subscription, you could run that one locally. The desktop sync license allows you to install ACT locally, like you have it now, and register it. So you could have a local database that isn't in the cloud if you wanted to.
Okay.
As long as, I mean, or you could just have the synchronization turned on for it. That would be the other thing, so that you've got the benefit of the backup in the cloud and the anywhere access. Now, one thing, sorry, Tony, other thing, I know you guys are a little bit lax on your password policy. You will all have to have a password, and I think it needs to be a certain length. So when you move to the cloud, that will be changed. Okay.
And then I'm sorry, Tony, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. Don't lose your thought.
The sensitive information we have on there, is there any history of things like this being hacked or being broken into to obtain sensitive information? Or are we more susceptible where we are on the server than we would be in the cloud?
I can look into the history of ACT being hacked, for that matter. We've been in the channel for years, so that's never come up. They do bring stuff. They do have things in play. I can find out exactly what they use, so I can present it to you. They do have multi-factor authentication that you could turn on. So that'll help you out. The fact that Wendy said you have password things, yep, you definitely want to look on that. When somebody logs into a PC, they have a list of all the databases that they can access. You can turn that off. You have control of which users. It's not like if you have one subscription, everybody sees all the databases. You can control what databases they see, what they don't see internally, or anybody gets into it. As long as they have an email address, multi-factor, and a password, then they'll be able to see a database and then get into it. Without any of that, they wouldn't even see the database to begin with. Even if they go to myact.com, they would see only the database that you've chosen for that user to see. So you do all that's built in for sure. So it's not like they log into myact.com and they see all your properties. And then once they get in, then they're just a standard user. No, you can go all the way to the level of where they don't even see it.
Okay.
As far as Act's own cloud servers exposure to everything, I'll find out what they have in play. Keep in mind too, once you're in the cloud, I mean, you know, everything is susceptible to getting broken into. That's just the way it is.
Right.
But I will look into I will look into what security they have in play, because I know there's some major financial organizations that do, you know, host with a company. There's hundreds of thousands of people that are on Act servers, so I'm sure they
Right.
want to protect their investments. So I'll find out exactly
Oh,
what they have.
yeah. Well, yeah, I know that they would be. And I think that, there's some insurance now, and I'm not sure, I'll have to look into what ours covers, about getting hacked, and people's information going out. I mean, it is a thing, and no matter, really kind of no matter where you store it, unless it's in paper copies in your, file cabinet and,
Or under your
locked
mattress.
with a pit bull guarding it, I mean, it's going to get, somebody's going to try to get in there. So I would just be interested to know what kind of securities they have, and that would make me feel better in presenting this as well. I don't think it's a bad idea for us to go to the cloud. I think it might make our life easier, which I'm all about, and also streamlining some things that we're having issues with. Wendy, I guess you could tell me this, if it would help streamline some of the things we're having issues with now. It sounds like it might make those things a little bit easier for us in emailing and things like that. So, I'm definitely on board with that. So I don't see, I'm trying to make sure I would be able to address any objections that might come my way when presenting this, but I really don't see any. I don't see.
I'm available to have a conversation with whoever there
Okay.
to answer that. As far as there are a few areas of the program that I feel work better in the web, or I'm sorry, in the local version, and that would be a layout editor currently is better in the Windows version. The reports, which you're not using any reports, that area is better. And I don't know, Tony, can you think of anything else? Those are the two that are big.
Yeah, you touched on the top two. I think reporting is a little bit better on desktop. There's even third-party tools that, add-ons that we would actually suggest, and a lot of it, that's about it. Other than what you guys are trying to accomplish, yeah, web is going to be a much better opportunity for you, especially with the Connect Link feature. Act Marketing Automation just works 100 times better on the web. Absolutely, 100%.
All right. How hard is it? One last question. How hard is it to go from the Act Premium to the Act Premium Cloud?
We've had people, I think I jumped in front of Wendy. Depending on the size of your database, I'll get more on that, but I've had people, we basically migrated them and they were able to use the software within a couple of hours. It all depends on the size of the database, but quite honestly, the whole process is you go into Act, you back up your database using the Act backup tool, and you upload it, and just like that, you have access to it. The only time factor involved is making sure everybody's got an email address. When you want to make sure all the users have an email address, you have to work on the authentication, and depending on the size of the database, so that and how long it would take to actually upload it, depending on the size, that's all you have to worry about. Everything looks the same. All the fields come over. Everything looks exactly the same. So the whole process itself can be done in. I tell people 24 hours just to give myself, a buffer, but I've done it within an hour in some cases. Some cases it took 2 days because the size of the database, but The longest I've seen, a couple of days, and then it took longer because they all of them they did it in tandem with the desktop version, so we had to cut remotes, and there's a whole bunch of process. It could be from 1 hour to 48 hours. But I think you get the picture.
Do you guys do this service, or do we go through?
Absolutely. We're this is where I'm going to put my business hat on as the president. That's what we're resellers of VAC, but at the same time also, if you need some hand holding, you want to get deeper into the database, that's what we do. We do sell support packages where you get the free service from VAC, but if you really want to go in there and get some more hand holding, we're a boutique service from there. We do offer those as well.
Okay. All right. Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you. And Wendy, can you get back on me with me on the price difference? And also I want to know what we do with the fact that we've already renewed and updated our version. So does that credit go towards that, or is there any difference? I mean, how does that work? And so you don't have to answer that now because I know we're almost time, but those are things I would have questions on too.
Okay. Yeah. Short answer is you get, they work it out at ACT with the pricing and what you've already paid, and your subscription date, your end date basically stays the same, and they like sort of refund you what you have left and then apply it towards the new. And it's the price is different for everybody that is already a subscriber because of that. But we can get you, I think we can get you a quote on it.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
Sure, we can work it out.
Wonderful. Okay. Well, thank you.
Awesome. Well,
Yeah, I think it needs some direction too. This is all good. We'll fumble around with it for a while, and I'll call you if I have questions.
That's great. Thank you both for showing up. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, very informative. Thank you both. I appreciate it.
And for anybody else that I'll let Wendy finish up, and forgive me for interrupting, but for anybody else that was listening on this recording, my name is Tony again. I'm the president of Patricia Egan Consulting. Wendy Cummins is our senior ACT consultant. If you do have any questions, our email is probably the best. You can email us at support@eganconsulting.com, EGEN, support@eganconsulting.com.
Perfect. All right. Well, we'll wrap it up. Thank you again. And Nanette, I'll be talking with you soon.
Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Yep, thank you. See ya.
Thanks, Steve.